Greetings, everyone. Thank you for being here for this part of the Neustadt Lit Fest. This is a momentous occasion. You're going to hear in a few minutes from Kathy Neustadt, who's going to make the announcement of the winner of the 2024 laureate of the Neustadt International Prize for Literature. It's a really big deal. You are the first people in the world who are going to hear this outside of the jury and the staff. And then a few minutes after that, the assistant director of World Lit Today, Daniel Simon, is going to introduce the jurors, and who are all internationally known writers, and you're going to hear a little bit of their work. And so that is really an exciting event. Also, the winner of the NSK Neustadt Prize for Children's and Young Adult Literature, Jean Yang, is here. And Jean is over there. Please have a chance to stop by and talk to him. I've intentionally not asked him to speak tonight. We have him doing so many things. I think this is an evening to have a glass of wine if you'd like to do that. And thank you for all that you're doing. We really appreciate you a lot. Let's see, also Mescalito Books is here, Nathan Brown, so please go over to that table at some point. And Greenleaf Books, Heather Hall is here. I think, yeah, she's over there. She just waved. Carrie Shadid is back there. She's a poet who will write an instant poem for you. So please do that. And so the books of most of our visitors are available one way or another, so please get a book and get them signed tonight. And I think you'll be glad you did that. So it now gives me great pleasure to introduce a member of the Neustadt family who's going to talk about the winner of the 2024 Neustadt International Prize for Literature. Kathy Neustadt lives in Denver and is a freelance field producer for ABC News and has worked on shows for World News Tonight, Good Morning America, and Nightline. She's a former chair of the Meisel Arts and Culture Center and was recently president of the board of the Loop Stanberg Jewish Community Center in Denver. She endowed and founded the annual Neustadt Jam Fest, which every fall in Denver features visiting authors, artists, musicians, and new films. She's a trustee of the Rose Community Foundation in Denver and chairs their Jewish Life Committee. In 2015, she was honored by the Meisel Center with its Cultural Achievement Award. I was there for that, and it was a sort of Person of the Year award. It was very impressive. And that year also received the Regents Alumni Award for her service to OU. She graduated from the University of Denver in Mass Communications and has two amazing grown children, Tess and Josh Hankin. Please give a warm welcome to my good friend, Kathy Neustadt.
Good evening. I am so pleased to be here tonight to announce the winner of the Neustadt International Prize for Literature for 2024. I know that the jury for each prize has many difficult choices to make, and I know today was no different. I also know in this case they're very pleased and excited about this choice. The winner of the Neustadt International Prize for Literature for 2024 won her first literary prize when she was 15 years old, a short story prize given by Radio France Internationale. She went on to study at the School of Oriental and African Studies in London, where she received a PhD in social anthropology. In 1977, she published a collection of short stories called Solstices, and since that auspicious beginning has published over 25 books, including novels, collections of poetry, short stories, and essays. The writer I am speaking of is Ananda Devi. In recent years, Devi has become one of the major literary voices of the Indian Ocean. She has been translated into over a dozen languages and has received numerous literary prizes and decorations from Mauritius and also from France. The Guardian recommended her novel, Eve Out of Her Ruins, among the 100 best contemporary novels in translation by women writers. Award-winning writer and filmmaker Fabienne Kanur nominated Devi for the Neustadt Prize. Kanur has published 7 novels and has won many awards herself. She devotes her career to studying race and gender in France and the French West Indies and West African migrations in France. Devi will come to OU in the fall of 2024 to receive the award. In honor of her visit, World Literature Today will organize a Neustadt Lit Fest consisting of talks, panel discussions, interviews, and musical and dance interpretation of Devi's work. There will also be a Neustadt course to help OU students become acquainted with her literary achievements. I am so pleased to see this honor bestowed on a writer who is a champion on behalf of women in Mauritius and who is also an inspiration for women who struggle for recognition around the world. Thank you very much.
I just want to say before I introduce Daniel Simon that I've chaired a lot of Neustadt juries over the years. I have never seen a more dedicated, passionate, professional, amazing group than what we saw today. They are just incredible folks. They're all well-known writers internationally. And we usually, the jury usually votes and we break around 1 or 2 o'clock. This went till 4:30, almost 5. And just the wonderful vibes, the just deep caring, the concern for a great outcome. We'll all be thinking about it for a long time. It was just so impressive. Something I meant to say to you earlier, there's a place, one of these tables, where you can sign up for a raffle. And there are books by a lot of our special guests who are here. And so where would that table be? Okay, the signing table, right over here. So you owe it to yourself. Free books, you can get your books signed tonight, so please think about doing that. And also, I think I've failed a couple of times to welcome the Colorado Academy group, and that was a big mistake because they are so important to us in so many different ways. They come out as a group. I think they even have a competition at Colorado Academy to decide which students can come out here with their teachers. So, okay, second big part of our evening will be your chance to meet the Neustadt jurors, and Daniel Simon will moderate. Please welcome Daniel Simon.
Thank you, RC. Thank you to all for being here this evening. It's really just amazing to, I think, come down off this mountaintop experience of having the jury decide on Ananda Devi today and to celebrate her achievement as well. So it's really my pleasure to introduce the jurors who will be reading this evening. And I'm not sure, is Dr. Kanor here? I'd like to recognize her for championing Devi's work. Fabienne, would you like to come forward? Congratulations.
No, but I'm not Ananda Devi.
No, but you
Thank
to
you.
you.
Thank you very much. But it was a wonderful journey with all of you. It was wonderful, first of all, to read all these wonderful books, to understand the stories, to go deep into that, and then to meet in person with you jurors. So thank you so much. And thank you to you too, because you organized such a wonderful event with all of us. You believe in writing, we believe in art, in literature, in sharing our words. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Fabienne. We'll be really delighted to invite Ananda Devi back to Oklahoma. She was previously a juror several years ago, and Dr. Kanor, as well as other writers and scholars who will celebrate Devi's work and her achievement as the 2024 laureate. So I know I'm supposed to give books away at some point, but I don't have any names to pull out of a hat yet. So if we could get those by the end of our time together, I will announce the winners, because I have a whole stack of books here to give away, including a copy of Eve Out of Her Ruins, the laureate's book that was read by the jury in their deliberations. So, will I get the names, Terry, eventually? Okay, all right. So we'll do the giveaways at the end, everyone's favorite part. So I will introduce just all of the jurors at once and then one by one, so you can get a copy of their book from Green Feather Books, who is here to celebrate their work. And really, after championing the work of their nominees throughout today, we're really focused on their achievements as writers, translators, and poets this evening. So just if you'll each stand up briefly, we'll introduce you as a group, and then one by one as you do your readings. First, Alexandra Litton Regalado from El Salvador. Clavis Natera. Allison Hedgecoke. Jennifer Kwan Dobbs. Romeo Oriogun. Alina Stepanescu. And Shola Wope. And not here this evening, Idra Novi is a writer, translator as well, who participated via Zoom in the jury deliberations. And we enjoyed having her conversation as well today. So I came up with the clever idea of having the jurors read alphabetically by their first name, so I have to figure out how this works. First of all, I think it's Alexandra. Alexandra Litton Regalado is the author of Reliquenda, winner of the National Poetry Series most recently. She is a translator as well and holds fellowships from Canto Mundo and Letras Latinas. She is a co-founder of Kalina Press, based in El Salvador. Welcome, Alexandra.
Thank you so much. I really want to say that I feel like this is such an open and sincere place, and its people really says a lot about the care and the attention that is taken into this prize and the magazine and the university, so thank you all. So in the spirit of Ananda Devi, I'm going to read a poem from my book, Relincuenda. It's called Hija, an Inheritance. Hija is daughter. Of pink, I relate only to red's snakebite strike, to white's muffled light, the two like food on a child's plate, colors that must remain untouching. Pink rabbit eye, pretty yet sinister. The signs along the trafficked road to the beach offer rabbits for meat or pets. When I was a child, our pet rabbit lived in a cage in the far corner of our yard. And beyond that fence lay acres and acres of government land set aside for experiments on fruit trees. Pink like the dwarf rabbit's gums. I obsessed with her teeth, and I'd turn the rabbit on her back, cup her in the palm of my hand, and part her furred lips. She did not mean to smile, and it was funny. She always bit me, but it was worth it. Pink as a young girl's bedroom, the heart of a seashell, our own pink interior, the meat of us, pink of lip, red what it says yes to, white what is unsaid. Pink inside of rabbit ears, always at attention. I'd pet the softest parts, and they'd turn, following their fear. It's hard to be the first. Okay, and so today I was talking with Allison Hedgecoke a lot about pain tolerance and how we found that we have a lot of things in common. And I started telling Allison about this word called aguantadora. It's a word in Spanish which basically means able to withstand. And so I told her I want to read a poem and I want to dedicate it for you tonight. It's called I Prided Myself on Being Aguantadora. As a verb, shoring up, not the verb keening, as in to cry. Entre más doy, más tengo. Entre más agua entrego, más se llena la fuente. Tengo sed, drink the vinegar. Prayer is a call and response, dear sister. Press the wafer to your tongue, tilt the cup or pass a thorny rope through your tongue. There will be a scroll of blood to burn. Al exhalar, I hear my name. Breathe the pain to get to something good. How do we learn that? Birth, yes, birth. Or our mouths clenched on a rope of muscle. When moved to ecstasy or despair, our mouths only know how to make round sounds. Our lips puckered and twisted into ovals, ellipses, and all forms of circles. A howl knows to empty, a body, a cenote, a cave, dear sister. All things dark and carved out, water hollowing over a course of decades, land masses made in duress. In this, my role is seawall. Resist and let it come. Al extender, I hear my name. I hear often, he llorado lo que no está escrito, and I hold my shoulder firm against the surge. A hammer to a finger reveals our mother tongue as we say ow or I, and silently we count with our lips in our language cut with the deepest grooves. Pain as something we need to cross, a threshold we move through, as it sometimes is a car peeling out of a driveway, white pebbles striking bare shins, one sharp rock, dear sister. How it could also be a pebble in a shoe, click of stone on stone, sting of stone on skin. I skidded along that edge, daughter, mother, woman. I was a stone set against pain, and she threw herself at my feet. Thank you.
Okay, I have a few names, so let's just start giving away books. And let me grab one from the stack. This book is called The Magic Fish by Trung Le Nguyen, who is our juror who nominated Jean Yang for this year's NSK Prize. And the name I have here is Eleanor Pond. Eleanor. Isn't that the best? Yeah. Okay, and we've got more to come. So please turn in your names. We have a copy of Reliquenda to give away, and these are all signed books by the jurors. So you'll have a signed copy, but you'll have to come back next year to get Ananda Devi's signature on her book. Our second reader this evening is Alina Stefanescu, who was born in Romania and lives in Birmingham, Alabama, where she is co-director of the local branch of PEN America. She's the author of fiction, poetry, creative nonfiction, and several hybrid books. And she has been recently selected to appear in Best American Poetry 2022. Please welcome Alina Stefanescu.
It is such an honor to be here, and it's very difficult to get over that. It's such a wonderful gift to be able to celebrate books, the difference that they make in people's lives, the way they keep people going. the reason why prisoners need books in prison, because it's the hope for the future. I'm going to read a little bit of poetry tonight from dor. Dor is a Romanian word that means longing, and I'm going to start with something like longing. It's more like a longing that you can never have. So if in America we like to think about things as checklists, where we check off something on the resume that we accomplish, dor is just wanting a thing you will never get. It's lovely. It's stewing in it. So if I talk to a Romanian friend, she's like, "Oh, mi dor." She means I'm just hanging out, longing for the impossible. And there's something radical in that. So dor, I'm going to read the dedication. It's for my dad, who is one of the last living family members that I have. For my father, Doru, whose name is rooted in longing, and who made a home for us there. I miss you like missing words. I miss you as if the act is inherent in the naming. And maybe Romanian is the only language where longing is a homeland, where longing is so reliable that mothers name their sons longing to keep them nearer. It is true that Doru means longing. It is true that Doru is a very popular name in Romania. If you can imagine calling men longing, it would be really wild here, I think. Very uncomfortable. This poem is for my grandmother. It's called I Say Thread. The only grandmother I ever met wore the same emerald silk dress to all holiday meals. Over a wingspan of decades, I grew familiar with the green and black spirals swirling around her eminently foreign body. I say Romanian because that's what she admired when happening upon herself in the faux wood mirror of her Alabama apartment. I say luxury condo because that's what she called it. I say family when I mean mirroring. I say silk because her eyes ran over these teenage shoulders, their tension. Later, she took the dress back to Romania. I say infinite because she never returned. The last time I kissed her, she wore that green silk dress in a casket, in a chapel where all lids were propped open. I say silence because her lips were stitched shut. I say bunica because that is the word for a woman sewn into a dress that loved me. I say loving because it is what is left, and forever is too much. A lot of this book is trying to come to terms with my parents' defection, leaving Romania, coming here, and all of our family being in Romania, and them slowly dying without ever getting to meet them, and then going back. There's this way in which you live in two worlds, and you're never totally at home. You're grateful to both, but you're never totally belonging completely. And it's a gift, and it's a curse. And but it's where poetry comes from, too. And so this is called Ovid as a Bruise. My mother died a few years before my first poetry book was published. She died suddenly. So a lot of this book is about longing for her, too, and trying to keep her near in some way. So my mother tongue, my mother Romania, all of it is deeply connected for me. Ovid as a Bruise. So Ovid's statue, for those of you who don't know, Ovid was exiled to the sea in Romania, and he was constantly complaining about how bad it was, how uncouth the locals were, how he needed to get back to Rome where it was civilized, So anyway, but there's a beautiful statue of him there. It's called Ovid as a Bruise. And he said, in Metamorphosis, Ovid said, "You will be separated from yourself and yet be alive." To lose a country is to let go of the known for the dread zone on a map. The alien sculpts new verbs in navigation. She coins nouns to accommodate dislocation. In the AP history classroom, you may caption the fable she owes this country. The belt, shaped like a smile, cannot move. A statue collaborates in her silence. A rock can't risk roots in longing for a place of origin. The word for missing becomes a bruise, the hidden bloom in a stone's mouth. Ancient Greeks believed exiles were liars, lacking loyalty, traitors to the language that made them. Ovid's statue gazes away from Constanza, the Romanian port of his banishment. I see him staring over the ocean, seeking legibility, a salve for his divided body, words bouldering like a bridge between the eyes of two harrowed lovers, holding intimate the abortion between them. A dream so treacherous, they chose to kill what they'd imagined to survive. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Alina. While these books are fresh in your mind, I'd like to give away a copy of Redecuenda. Well, let me see which books it is, which book I have by each author. Oh, it's Every Mask I Tried On, copy signed by Alina. And this one goes to Annabelle Iten. And Redecuenda by Alexandra. This copy goes to Sarah Petzel Grigas. Sarah? And we put the signed book plates in each copy of the book, so make sure we've got the right name in the right book. We did it rather hastily. Okay, our next reader is Clevis Natera, who is the author of the debut novel Neruda on the Park. Her fiction, essays, and criticism have appeared in the New York Times Book Review, Time, the Kenyon Review, among other publications. And I lost my paper. She teaches creative writing in New York City. Please welcome Clevis Natera.
Thank you for being here, everybody. I just want to take a moment to thank my fellow jurors for one of the most moving experiences I've had as a human being, and to thank the Neustadt family and World Literature Magazine and Oklahoma University for hosting such an important prize. Ananda Devi wrote a book that is concerned with the safety of women's bodies and how difficult it is sometimes to feel at home. And so in honor of Ananda Devi and Eve Out of Her Ruins, I'm gonna read a short section of my novel. All you need to know is that Neruda on the Park is about a community that comes under crisis due to gentrification. And my protagonist, Eusebia, comes up with a scheme to try to stop the danger in her neighborhood. So I'm just gonna read to you the part where she's trying to convince her friends to come along for the ride. Eusebia willed herself to stop the sensation of moving, of falling, and twirling through the air in opposite directions, a nauseous feeling. Usually, this was the moment that forced her to close her eyes and seek lower ground. Not today. On weak knees, she walked to where her best friend stood and inhaled deeply as she looked over. Beneath them, the building had been excavated, and it was as if a bomb had exploded. Bricks, pipes, concrete, refrigerators, stoves. Even farther away, discarded toys, a doll with matted blonde hair, a blue truck missing a wheel. She was puzzled at the sharpness of her vision. How could they have done all of that in 3 days? How could they possibly have gotten that done so fast? One of her friends asked. They discarded that old building to make room for what? They asked. Eusebia never imagined there would be so much empty space. I have an idea on how to stop all of this from happening, she said. Her best friends looked at her curiously. What if we just scare everyone into thinking our neighborhood is really dangerous? The women smiled, thinking it a joke, brilliant in its simplicity. How would we do that? They asked. Eusebia then spoke in a confident way, as if this conversation had already happened. She explained she meant recruiting their neighbors who would act out crimes throughout the neighborhood with other volunteers who would be the victims of these crimes. You mean fake crimes? They asked. No, not fake, real. Who'd be crazy enough to move into a neighborhood amid a crime spree? What kind of crimes? They asked. Eusebia was quiet. She had come up with a list, but she knew if they participated, helped formulate these crimes, they'd be in. What would scare you? She asked. This is the kind of idea that could destroy our community, they said. That can save it, she corrected. The women stared at her, worried. We can just come up with a list of things that can scare people, she said. The women exchanged looks. They spoke to each other with the simple speed of a blink. But now Eusebia was in on it, an eavesdropper. Questions floated among all 4 of the women. Could it work? Was it worth trying? What else as an alternative? It was true, fear would work. Fear always worked. She turned her body away from her best friends to the park. Her phone vibrated in her pocket. Her daughter or her husband must be worried, but she cared for them later. Now she turned her attention to the destruction beneath them. It tugged at something in the women. But it was Eusebia who thought about that young boy who they'd heard about in the news, a young immigrant boy who'd had the words, "Go home," carved in his back. There was complete stillness around them, the silence at the work site. Everyone had gone for the day. If we don't stop it, she said, it will not be stopped. This is the kind of idea that might destroy, the women said again. Eusebia followed their gaze around Northern Park as they took in the yellow lights that pulsed softly from the windows of the brownstones that flanked their park, with halos of rainbows bordering that light. There was the sound of the television, of music, of laughter, the natural noises of a neighborhood that had shut away the hostility that lived outside what they had made. Somewhere far away, a baby cried, a newborn by the sound of it, as if underlining what was actually at stake. It wasn't just about the 4 of them. And so, impossibly, her best friends agreed to go along. Thank you.
Our next reader is Dr. Fabienne Canor, who is born in France to Caribbean parents. She is the Marianne Trigbe Fried Early Career Professor in the Department of French and Francophone Studies at Pennsylvania State University. An award-winning writer and filmmaker, she has directed several movies and published 7 novels. Please welcome Fabienne Canor.
Thank you again. Merci beaucoup. Merci en pile, merci en lot. So what I'm going to read is a little piece of my latest book entitled The Poetics of the Hold, meaning the hold of the slave ship. It is a meditation on imperialism, colonialism, discrimination, and transatlantic slavery. The flesh of history. My mother sighed the day I asked her to tell me how she'd become a woman. Then she did what so many of women do when they are alone and have cleared everything away. She pulled her sweater up to her breast, grasped the abundance of her belly and walled it between her hands, as if working a piece of meat before dipping it in oil, as she did when I was little. And from the bathroom, I would hear her shout to her husband, "Woy, je t'ai dit de surveiller ça pour moi." My mother took her belly in her hands and looked so proud. Apart from the house purchased with the money, this was the most personal possession she owned. It was hers, and no one could say otherwise. So she stroked it, unconcerned about my eyes on her. It was the only loving gesture she allowed herself. The one time, the only time in her life where a body served no one. There were voices beyond our apartment walls. There was the world of the other, le pays de la personne. I am not my mother. Don't have the same stomach, the same size, the same bones, the same pelvis, the same leather of the authentic Martinican woman. I am not my mother. I do not carry the island except in my heart. I didn't have to go out into the French streets to yell, "Long live Papa de Gaulle," to bless the same man who declared, "It's fine to have yellow French people, black French people, brown French people." They prove that our great country is open to all races and has a universal vocation, as long as they remain a small minority. I didn't have to pack my bags to go to work in le pays de la personne. Didn't have to freeze in Le Havre, slide my legs into cheap, squatchy tights, or try to slip my hands into false pockets because the neighborhood seamstress didn't know how to make real pockets. I didn't have to tame my hair with Vaseline to make sure it wouldn't fly out of control, to make sure my hair wouldn't betray me, to make sure it wouldn't expose my fear as a woman born of a minority. I didn't have to dream. I didn't have to, I didn't build the same dreams as my mother. Nor did I feel the shame in my body that took over her when she had to open her mouth to speak her best French, when they taught her, when France showed her how to operate things, a flush toilet, an elevator, a carrot peeler, and how to use a body, because that's all the great country needed. I didn't sing the song they sang the day the boat set off. I didn't wave the handkerchief they waved without smiles on the longest day. I didn't disembark with all my belongings and my broken body. I didn't ask the way. I didn't hear what that person, the first white woman I had ever seen up close, whispered to the other person, the first white man I'd ever seen up close. I didn't feel the scorn, not that one, at least. I didn't take the back stairway to go upstairs. I didn't know hunger, didn't lay my body down, not knowing where or why, how to lay it down. I have no sleepless nights to tell you about. I have no mornings when lost in the body of the city, I wondered how to find its arms, its heart, its lungs, its lips, where they had put its worms. The town over there back home knew how to stay so warm. I study my mother, her belly and her feet that have moved as fast as a twain. Imprisoned in a pair of white shoes with soft soles, she holds on to this habit from working at the hospital. I ponder her. I pondered her for a long time, and then it was night, and then I remembered what had been done to us women. Being personal property means being open 24 hours a day, being able to take abuse, able to swallow your tongue, able or capable, call it what you will. It means remember nothing, think of the memory of a black box and pretend to have lost the key. Have I been this personal property? Do I carry within me this personal property sickness? This mobile illness passed on from wife to daughter? Is it a part of my makeup, this unmaking, after all, made me? Look, that's how I look when the moon come out again, a movable sickness. How else to say it? How else to understand ourselves? The flesh of history. That's what I name this dance. Not a ballroom dance, a pleasing dance done in pairs, but was a dance step dancing in groups of 8, 10, 20, millions. A dance of bodies kept from dancing freely, a dance to guess where this boat was headed and why. Why they took us alive to ship us over there dead. We know that everything was swallowed up there, names, thoughts, huts, wells, brush, baobabs. We know that to word of madness, some gave the tongue to the throat, and the throat to the stomach, and the stomach to the belly. All that was left were arms and backs and tendons. Barely in the end, they would be cut too. My body. Who will give me back my body? Who will restore it to me? They say, somewhat caught sight of it in a bad neighborhood. It was wandering about without direction, without being protected. On screen, I saw it falling in the street like a nothing, my body. I saw them smash it and flatten it. I felt my death coming to me. I felt the way of their brutality, my body. Who will restore it to me? Every year, everywhere in the world, mothers bury their children. They die deaths that are not natural, but historical, political, economic, social, every day, everywhere. We can count the bullets, and we can count the dead. How many?
Thank you, Fabian. What power. Okay, we only have 3 more readings to go, so I'm going to give away some more books. The first book is called Hummus by Fabienne Canor, and the winner is Charlie Hughes. Where's Charlie? And the second book is a copy of Neruda on the Park, signed by Clevis Natera for Tiffany Hernandez. Tiffany. Okay, our next reader is Jennifer Kwan Dobbs. Her 2018 book, called Interrogation Room, received the Association of Asian American Studies Award in Creative Writing for Poetry. Currently, she is Senior Poetry Editor of Agni Journal and Professor of English at St. Olaf College. Please welcome Jennifer Kwan Dobbs.
It's such an honor to be here. I want to thank the University of Oklahoma, World Literature Today, my fellow jurors, the Neustadt family. And I want to say also that, I was born in Korea. I adopted to Oklahoma at 5 months. Actually grew up right outside of Tulsa in Sand Springs. So y'all, I'm an Okie. And about 2 weeks ago, my Korean father died. I had searched for 13 years for my family, reunited in 2011. And I went to read a poem in Korean dedicated to him. The Korean is Korean that I was able to develop by studying on my own while growing up in Oklahoma. And it is an imperfect Korean, but it's the Korean that held my family together and enabled me to be with my father. I also want to express deep appreciation to World Literature Today for the way that it recognizes and champions literature and translation. So thank you for bringing the world to us in that way. 우리 아빠에게 우리 아빠에게 미안해요. 숲에 했습니다. 저는 아기처럼 말해요. 비하지 않고 하나 해서 배고파. 많이 먹고 먹고 싶어. 우리는 저변 한국어 엉내에 갇혀 있다 또다시 반복해요. 어떻게 하나들을 봉합할 수 있습니까? 그래서 우리는 서로를 찾을 수 있습니까? 우리는 어떻게 서로를 용서할 수 있습니까? 여기에서 우리는 항상 사과, 고기, 밥과 물입니다. 사랑합니다. 아빠 큰딸 수진. And to summarize, I'm asking my father, I'm saying to him, I'm so sorry, I speak like a baby. We are always eating together in silence. Are we always going to be hungry with one another? Always I'm going to be apple, meat, and rice and water with you. But I love you, and I'm your eldest daughter. Beetle, after Jose Pacheco. You, like all of us, are what you conceal. Inside your horned helicopter, you hide and suffer, infamous in your exile, prized for your craft that we try to imitate in gold and amber. You survive baiting, outrun and elude us. Your assassins who can't follow into the wall, built of circuitry or Jacob's ladders. This, your solitary confinement from which you escaped, winged and on the run. You entered illegally, the humblest of eaters, pursued by flashlights searching London flats, chased into floorboards and dreaming, there to engorge yourself on chicken marrow, hair of a woman who forged a compatriot's freedom, lint and nail clippings, underground palace of discarded excess. Poor, you never sought to become a rascal, thief, or tax evader. Your mouth hooked and clutched to secrete a hardening cloak as instinct instructed. No ambition could sustain that artist in you to fulfill the task for which you were born, an asylum out of your own body, metamorphosing the worm who curls in all of us who envy such rapid success, perfected artifice that, if an autopsy would reveal nothing about you that hasn't been pestered or riddled by schoolchildren, judges, barbers who can't betray your anonymity or inform upon your green card stash. Programmed by shadows, struck dumb yet knowing to scuttle a death blow missing, you do not fear that kind of death. You have survived it, as you reported to the benefit gala, the pearl-strung collarbones enchanted by your poison-sung resurrection, born and cradled in a ball of shit, no longer a trespasser, but a guest of honor. You hum from a scroll and silence the waitstaff who once pitied you, but now mutter, you were always untouchable. Our mumbler, how you alter the story. Who can rival you in strategic confusion? Pest, because we can't surpass or kill or ignore you. Neither an insect nor bird. You exist in pure imagination. Your reputation will last long after the house is dismantled, its fixtures stripped and auctioned, its metal hinges scrapped, bricks sold in a yard, then reused for respectable establishments where the threat of your possibility will compel precautions. Though you disappear again through a crack into the darkness with which we wall ourselves, but cannot go. How we hate you for it and spread rumors of your disease, though we admire your rage to outlive and, like you, are what we conceal. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you again, Jennifer. Our next reader is Romeo Oriogun, a Nigerian poet and essayist. He has received the Nigeria Prize for Literature, the Brunel International African Poetry Prize, and the Alice Faye di Castagnola Award. A graduate of the Iowa Writers Workshop, his poems have been translated into several languages. Please welcome Romeo Oriogun.
Hello, everyone. It's really been an honor to be among all of you. I think what I'll take away from Oklahoma, it's not just the reminder of the power of writing, but also the communion that writers share with ourselves, but also with the world. So I'll be reading from The Gathering of Bastards, which it's my new collection and was just published 2 weeks ago. So this is called The Sea Dreams of Us. Before the sea became my journey, it was love, folktales. It was our origins staring at us. It was our shadows. Then the ships of migration came, reminding us that years back, people left in canoes loaded with hope, with spices, seafarers who navigated water, holding stars in their bosoms until the sky became road. We never saw them, only heard the rumors, only heard that they grew wings at the world's end, becoming ancestors, becoming what we hear in the water at night. I am telling the story to a girl in Accra, sitting before the sea and watching boats named for souls who grew wings. She laughs over a beer, saying, I was once the day, I was once hope, maybe love. I have given up my country to be here, by the seaside, where what looms over me is uncertain. I have committed no offense except to love a man, which I know is the word fear. But what burns the world quicker than desire? There is no rest in exile. There is only the road echoing in blood, the road echoing in water, and we know it, both of us. Even when drunk, home is our breath. The girl laughs at the sea, saying, our bodies are countries outside of borders. We watch the night, the return of boats, the sky above Accra. The horizon beckons, and the ship waits with our journey. What have you given up, I ask her. Silence is also exile, she says. We walk to the sea, and what story I carry lives in me, and what story I cannot tell lives in me. As the ship departs, I stare at it, wondering who will tell my story, who will give me wings, who will make me fly. I think I'm always thinking about language and how, a lot of restoration, whether it's justice, whether it's for colonized people, for any group of people, how it begins with language, and that before any important work is carried out, we have to, whether it's theorizing, whether it's writing, but we have to conceive it in language before it becomes a reality. And this poem is called From Darkness into Light. It's kind of like an Ars Poetica. Once at night, I saw the world collapsing into a song. A man who has known loneliness throughout the day was summoning all the voices left outside doors to his side. His flute said, God, do not begrudge me this hour of creation. And God replied, there is nothing to begrudge, for I was once lonely and staring at the dark. And I said, let there be light, for I too was afraid of the emptiness before me. I told this to the reverend who was called to pray for me, once after my stomach was pumped and the drugs gone from my system. Once after I listened to a dying cockerel and asked my mother, what lushness has death seen? What beauty hides in its body that it invites the world, screaming into every house, you must come into where the waters have been. You must see the flowers, the swift, the lizard, all bowing and praising, all saying, it is only through the earth we become saved. And the Reverend said, you must be a servant, not a poet, for who without school can sing the world into verse? I have said nothing of this exchange, not to my lover, who once over wine asked me, when did you choose to become a poet? Not to my mother, who said, do not choose to suffer. Although once beside a river where goats come to drink, I said to the wild, it is only fair that those who hunger must cry. It is only fair that those whom the world shaped through pain must begin to cry into the wind. And the wild replied, you must not seek for understanding, for your language is extinct, a dead thing wandering at the boundary of darkness. You must hold it and shout, for only language can begin the restoration of those pushed out of history. I have been shouting into light. Yeah. I have always resisted writing poems that has to do with America. Well, I think when you've lived in this country for 5 years, somehow the problems of this country creep into your language. I think one of the conditions of exile is also loneliness, that you're with people, but you're also very alone with yourself. And so this poem is called All Winter I Had No Love. It was written a long time ago, I think. Now I have a kid and I'm married, so. So this All Winter I Had No Love. Though there was a frozen lake, I walked around 3 times every day, like a faithful pilgrim who had stumbled upon a saint's grave, and in that shock of worship was unable to let go. All day I thought of prayers and then discarded them. The world itself was becoming small. I stood on a balcony in Athens, looking at the bronze of a racehorse, the raised point of his nostrils still filled with smoke. I have seen every beauty from the loneliness of my heart. I have walked in dreams into a market in Ouagadougou and on a street where a French house was falling apart, haggled with a woman for the bleached call of a white hog. I had no use of it except to understand what becomes of us when we are left alone. Still alone, I said to myself, there is nothing as familiar as cruelty. Even exile, even love understands its shadow. And in a garden of light among snowmen, a little plastic Jesus blossomed into the night like tenderness, like a stalk of wheat forgotten by time, and I plucked it. Walking home, I imagined angel after angel traveling beside me, and from above there was a song. I have known joy only to suffer when it's gone. I have seen the hawk cycle in the sky, seeking for the end of its hunger. And though my soul was frail, I kept walking toward the end, toward the house where my desire kept the walls warm. Thank you.
Okay, let's give away a few more books. Our most recent reader, Romeo's book, The Gathering of Bastards, is for Jessica Warren. We also have a copy of Dog Road Woman by Alison Adele Hedge-Koch, which goes to Chloe Chesley Vogels. Chloe. A copy of Interrogation Room by Jennifer Kwan Dobbs. This book is for Charlie Hughes. Charlie? Oh, you get 2. Congratulations. You can share it with someone. And a copy of Keeping Time with Blue Hyacinths by our next reader, Shole Wolpe, goes to Maddie Myers. Maddie. Okay, I would just like to thank again the jurors for today's deliberations and their presentations of their candidates. Again, there was much discussion of legacies of violence in places like Nigeria and Chile and Iran and ongoing violence in Gaza and Israel at the moment. But what came forth was so much about the power of literature to offer hope and resilience despite the deformations of language that violence perpetrates in our world today. So thank you again to the Neustadt family for their generous, being such generous benefactors to this 53-year tradition of the Neustadt International Prize for Literature, and now in its 20th year, the NSK Neustadt Prize for Children's and Young Adult Literature. Thank you. Our last reader is Shole Wolpe. She is an Iranian-American poet, playwright, and librettist. She has published 12 collections of poetry, translations, and anthologies, as well as an oratorio, several plays and multi-genre productions, and is currently writing a libretto for a new opera as well. So she is writer in residence at the University of California, Irvine. Please welcome Sholé Wolpe.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Again, I want to repeat my thanks to Neustadt family and World Literature Today and Oklahoma University. I'm going to read from my latest book, Memoir in Verse, Abacus of Loss. Those of you who don't know what an abacus is an instrument of measuring with rods and beads that you move along the rods. And this book is very, very unusual. It's because it's prose and poetry, and it's formed like a memory, you know. So the story doesn't go from A to Z. Every chapter is a lump of memory. You know, that's how our brain works. So I'm going to read just a few beats, because every section is a beat in every chapter. I'll just read a few beats for you from a chapter called This Coffin, second chapter. I lie on my old spring bed thinking about girls who slit their wrists, who pour kerosene on their heads and light a match. I'll be 13 soon. We kiss the warm earth, lips drawing moans from the sea. Like ghosts and flimsy shrouds, fountains of semen recreate us, sinew by shadow, by flesh, and this coffin, mine. Beat 5. I have perfected the art of eavesdropping. I hide behind furniture, crawl under mama's bed, listen to adults. The skeleton keyhole of my bedroom door opens to the living room. I stick into it a long straw taped to a heavy paper rolled into an ear trumpet. At night, adults bring out baklava and tea. They huddle around bubbling samovar and talk. Our walls are thick, so they don't whisper. Mama talks as if she swallowed the school principal's loudspeaker. She claims she's deaf in one ear because my father snores like an elephant. I say, elephants don't snore. She points at Daddy and says, this one does. Now I hold my breath and listen, but they're not speaking about a marriage. They're not laughing. Panic like smoke enters through the keyhole. Who has been arrested? Fear rocks the cradle until the city falls silent. It licks the inky outlines of churches and temples from its lips, the shadows of unbelievers and infidels. Doors uproot themselves. Want some ash for your soup? A little for your lover's tea? I promise I will not haunt you. This is only to cure us of our names. Beat 6. In Trinidad, my aunt takes care of me. My grandmother cooks and gives plenty of advice. I get fat. My skin isn't dark enough. It isn't white enough. My hair doesn't curl tight, nor does it drop straight like a waterfall. I wish I could iron my tongue, crease it sharp, so I could belong. Women sing absence like opera. They sprinkle it on white sheets like perfume, grafted to trees like branches from homeland. Indelible scarifications on their lips. The dance is this late breeze, swings the hangman's rope, cold fingers through my hair. Beat 8. Think of those who left behind, he says. The young girls they just hanged for refusing to convert. A good religious girl, I'm on display under a bell jar. No boyfriends, no late-night parties, no drinking. In the United States of America, all Daddy cares about is protecting my virginity. He guards it like his wallet. Don't wish for death. It may hear you and come dressed like a clown. Don't wear your scars like notes scribbled on the margins of books. Don't line your shoes along the cold wings of a plane about to take off. Fear licks my living skin like a lynx. I walk with a coffin on my back. Beat 9. To escape Daddy's rules, I get married. He is relieved. It's exhausting to protect a girl in a place like America. He holds his head between his palms when Mama reminds him of what we have lost. The losing never stops. Not just things, family, neighbors, people we have known all our lives. Dr. So-and-so is now a dishwasher in a diner in DC. The engineer who built such and such bridge lays tiles in rich people's homes in LA. My school principal and his wife, well, they just disappeared. Tonight, I lose the way to my next dream. Like a cradle in a paper boat, Daddy offers me to the sea. I chant every prayer I know, but no mermaid takes pity and returns me to my childhood. My songs will not wake the moon's face, the house grass, snow, donkeys burdened with almonds. Instead, the sound of knives sharpen against darkness. Instead, my blouse aches from this cold, contagious absence. Thank you.
Okay, so that's about a wrap on day 2 of the 2023 Neustadt Lit Fest. Tomorrow afternoon, we'll have a panel on the work of Jean Yang, just across that, well, behind that wall there in the gallery auditorium there. So please come back around 2 o'clock for that, and then we'll have the formal awarding of the NSK Prize tomorrow evening as well. So for the grand finale of book giveaways, we'll send you off with 2 copies of Dispatches from the Republic of Letters, a 50th anniversary Neustadt anthology that celebrates all of the winners from 1970 to 2020. And this copy goes to Emily Newby. Another book, another copy of the anthology, and this one goes to Aisha Odinabaram. Is that right? Aisha, sorry. And 3 signed books by Jean Yang, our NSK laureate this year. Copy of Monkey Prince goes to Katerina Osment. A copy of The Shadow Hero to Jalen Bright, one of the students in the Neustadt class. We'll get that copy to her tomorrow. And then one more giveaway to wrap up the evening, a copy of American-Born Chinese to Felipe Ferreira. Okay, again, thank you all for coming this evening. Enjoy a little more time to spend some conversation with the authors. Join us back again tomorrow for day 3 of the Neustadt Lit Fest. Thank you again.